Okay, I'm going to talk about our facilitators. We met on Friday to determine our facilitators. Currently there is a Facebook group. It's Occupy Hilo / Free Hawaii Work Group. If you just type in Occupy Hilo, it'll pop up as a group. It's not a page, it's a group. But if you're not on Facebook, talk to me, talk to one of the facilitators. I'm going to point them out now. And that is a way to get involved, or if you have something you want to talk about at the next General Assembly, let the facilitators know. The facilitator, that's me. You're going to do what I'm doing. I will talk a lot at the beginning just to share the process, and then I'm going to step back and as discussions build, I'm the one that's going to keep an eye out, does someone have a hand signal that's relevant that we need to address, and I will help us stick to the agenda. The stacker or the stack taker. Tonight we have Charles in the blue striped shirt here. What the stacker does is he's making sure that if you have something you want to talk about, you're going to be heard. Don't feel like you got to bounce out of your chair and, hey, I got to say something. Just raise your hand, open palm, just like this, nice and clear and high, and keep it up, and Charles will come to you and take your name, and you will be given the talking stick when it's your turn. The timekeeper. Tonight we have the lovely, my boyfriend Marcus is the timekeeper. When we get into a discussion, each person will have 3 minutes to speak. That could change. This is the first one. It's an experiment. We said, hey, let's try 3 minutes. If someone interrupts you with a point of information, I'm doing the hand signals and we'll define those in a minute. But if you get interrupted, your time will be paused. So you will have 3 minutes flat out. Marcus is going to give a 1 minute warning with his palm flat raised. That means you have 1 minute left. And then Marcus will give a 30-second warning with 2 palms raised. And when your time is up, Marcus will do a little wrap it up. Okay, you're rambling. And then eventually I'll just cut you off. Hey. Finally, the recorder. Tonight we have Ike here in the hat and sunglasses. Whatever we talk about tonight, relevant points and decisions and things like that will be shared on the Facebook. Again, if you do not have or do not want a Facebook, not only do I not blame you, but come to us facilitators and one of us can arrange the email or call you with what happened. And over time that network will grow and this information will just be out there for everybody. Does anybody have questions about the facilitation? Oh, I'm doing an awesome job then. Or you people are all shy, but I know that's not true. Okay, let's talk about the hand signals because I hear a lot of clapping and applause. And that's wonderful. I mean, great, you're liking what I'm saying. But applause is disruptive and it's going to make me pause and what I'm saying and just take up more time. So if you're hearing something that someone is saying and you're like, oh, that's so great, I want to go woo, or I want to clap or whatever, instead of doing something that's making noise, we're doing the two-handed woo, wavy thing. And that's noiseless and I can keep talking and the discussion can move forward. That is not a voting move, that's just a, instead of applause, kind of feeling. If you're feeling kind of mad about something and you want to say something, this is the in-between, I don't really know how I feel about that kind of response. The point of these hand signals is as a facilitator, I can gauge the vibe and feel of the crowd. If someone's talking about something and then you're being redundant, you're preaching to the choir, we can move on. The last hand signal like that is, I don't like that at all, we need to change the topic, this is freaking me out. If a lot of people are doing that, I can again shift the conversation and say, okay, let's move away from the abortion topic or something controversial. More hand signals. If we're talking about a meeting time and someone's like, oh yeah, we're going to meet at 3 o'clock, and no, we're meeting at 2 o'clock, that is a point of information. A point of information is not an opinion, it is not a disagreement, it is not a, yeah, I agree, it's not an agreement, it's nothing personal, it is strictly informational. It is if someone has a fact wrong and you have the right answer. And I will pause that person's time and address your point of information, and then we'll carry on. A point of process is the diamond, like that. A point of process, you can throw that up if the speaker is getting really sidetracked and it's like, hey, we were talking about something else. Again, I will pause what you're saying to address the point of process and come back to that. And we talked about the hand signal if you want to speak. I think that's it for our hand signals, right? Okay, has it? No? Am I missing one? Oh, the block. You just dropped his notes in the trash can. We were discussing this as I was making the agenda last night, and I'm not sure how we're going to use the block at this point. I'm familiar with Robert's rules. I don't want to push Robert rules on us because this is a different process and I'm respecting that. But I think that I would find it easier, and we can change this, where we come to a consensus decision-making point. I don't want everybody to throw up their opinions at one point and me have to try to weed out someone who's blocking. What I'm going to do as facilitator tonight, and again we can change it later, is say, okay, who is in agreement? And then I just want a show of hands. And then I will ask who is on the fence, or they call it standing aside. And that's kind of like, I don't really care. And then I will get a show of hands, and then I will ask if anybody wants to block, and that I will get a show of hands. And I will strictly define those in just a moment, so hold on. Okay, I'm going to propose the agenda that will follow this, and that will become hopefully a normal agenda. Again, this is just my input as the first facilitator and is up for discussion. But because this is the first agenda, it's not quite going to be falling into that groove. But I hope in the future, first we'll start with a review of General Assembly process, just like this. So anybody new showing up gets a feel for it. Second, we can share announcements, and people can add announcements to an agenda by talking about it at the prior agenda or addressing the facilitators before the assembly. So then we'll have maybe news from other occupations or relevant events for that week for us, etc. Third, working group reports. These are not action items to reach consensus on, but any working groups that we have can come up and speak for a little bit to share what they've been working on. Just a little weekly update report from them so everybody is on the same page. 4 would be the big thing, the proposed action items coming from working groups. Those are the things where someone's going to say, hey, we want to do this. That will follow with a large group discussion, which may take some time with lots of agreeing, disagreeing, discussing. That may lead to some amendments to the proposal and things that may be changed. And at that point, we can try to reach consensus on that issue, or the working group may have to take it home and work on it for another week. When we do reach a point of reaching consensus, and how is that decision made, and how do we get everybody to like that decision? I'm going to further define standing aside here. If we've got a proposal, maybe it has some amendments on it, reread it out, and we decide, are we going to do this? Can we get consensus on this? I ask for a show of hands of consensus. Hopefully it's everybody. Maybe there will some, and I'll ask for a stand aside. Who is on the fence about this? Stand aside, you may not agree with it, but you're okay with other people doing it. You might personally disagree with it, but you don't think it's wrong, so you're fine. You can live with it, you don't want to stop others. We must determine as a group later on exactly how many people can be stand aside and how many people are okay with it. Like, what's the cutoff point there? Finally, that's the blocking. Blocking is extreme. Blocking is not a difference of opinion or a disagreement, but it is a complete and absolute rejection of the group moving forward. If you're going to block an item, it should feel like you're going to leave the group if it is to pass because you feel so strongly about it. This is to be used sparingly and cautiously, and because the item will not pass if it has a block on it. So that would be the final thing I would ask for, is does anyone want to block this? And hopefully most of the time nobody's going to raise their hand. If consensus cannot be reached because we're discussing it too long, maybe people are getting tired, maybe we're spinning our wheels, maybe someone blocks it, the decision, it may be postponed, and we could just say, hey, you know, let's just sleep on this, come back next week. Maybe the working group needs to take it home and rework it and be like, okay, why didn't they like that? Let's change some things. We may decide to do a largely majority vote, like 80% or something high. That's what some other occupations have been doing. We have a smaller than normal group here, so we're just going to have to talk together and find out what do we want to do in case of consensus not being reached. And I think that's it for my big spiel. I want to address any questions about the whole GA consensus process now. I said the soapbox.
that we call it open mic rather than soapbox. There's kind of a negative connotation in that for some people. So I don't know if anybody else has any objection to that. But
well, maybe those who can't hear, Tina's proposing just calling it open mic instead of soapbox because of the connotation there. That seems to be a popular feeling. No skin off my back, that's easy and positive and great. Okay. Note taker. Got it. All right. Steel trap. Okay. Any more questions? Yeah.
Was there consensus about the use of the hand signal? And I may be alone on this, but the no clapping reminds me of the county when we testify there and we're censored. And to me, there's so much social engineering going on to get us to not be in touch with our emotions. And I think clapping is a very primal, natural thing. I trust this enough that we won't get out of hand, but I might be alone on that. So I feel my freedom of speech affected with not being able to express myself happily.
The only point of the hand signal is the hands or the clapping grounds the word.
I understand that.
Right.
I just think it's part of the Jewish class.
Right, but this does give you, voices your opinion, message.
I know, I'm alone on this. Or I don't know if anybody else feels it, but it's
Are we
important.
going to take a vote on it?
I don't know if anybody else feels it.
That's a good discussion. I thought it was really weird and goofy the first time I saw this, and I was like, oh, come on, but then I realized the point of it, and it's just as silly or goofier as anything that people do in a meeting. Clapping is great and primal and emotional, and I agree, and I would love to clap. Let's hear what Tina has to say.
is it possible that sometimes clapping is really the natural fun? And as far as the hand signals go, we're talking a lot about a process